From the design point of view, given diffusion of novel technologies that didn't exist 10 years ago, how do you look at that next to the innovation question?
Well, actually, I wanted to go back to your point about curiosity, because I think that's a big missing piece in the system now, where I think doctors have completely lost their curiosity. They are going from a conversation that is maybe 12 minutes with a patient to a drug, to a prescription, and they've completely lost their insight into what's actually going on and listening to the patient and actually hearing what's going on. And I don't know how we get that back, but it's certainly here in the US. I don't know how this might apply in India, but I think that's and I hate to say, but I do blame the pharmaceutical industry for where we've come to this point where doctors are no longer curious. They want to reach for the pad so that they can complete the appointment, and I think that's why
I understand why that's our fault.
I was going to say, why is the pharma's fault instead of the healthcare system's fault?
Well, it's a combination, but the prescription is the endpoint. It's like, I want to write a script for a drug, and I've been told by the pharmaceutical industry what all these options I have, and so these are my solutions to a problem.
You think they're more curious in India when they have none of those choices? Is that an example?
Yeah, I think they've really I think it's shut down their curiosity, and it's partly the pharma industry coming with, these are all these great drugs we've got these new things like restless leg syndrome, we're inventing problems and we've created drugs for them, so the doctors, I think, try to fit in that rubric of what is a prescription I can write, and I check the box, I'm done. I've had this conversation with the patient and now we're finished. And I think that curiosity still exists in the pharma industry in a really good way around developing new drugs and new treatments. But I see, and I don't just blame the pharma industry. I have friends who are my age who are doctors who say, we gave up. We totally succumbed to this pattern, and we no longer have
to treat with something other than a drug. Is that what you would hope to see?
Well, or just
or not treat at all.
Maybe become a little bit more like scientists with a curiosity of around, okay, what's going on here? What can I dive into a little bit further through further questioning, through getting to know my patient a little better, rather than and it's partly because of the...
You mean like Hippocrates getting the patient's story?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's the stories that we're missing. It's the engagement with the patient. So I always come back to the patient has the information. They've got, if we can pull it out of them in well-designed ways, and bring the doctors back into it. I think it's partly why there's a lot of frustration in the medical establishment. Their jobs aren't that interesting anymore.
I think it's a far more pervasive issue of curiosity, not just the pharma or the healthcare industry, right? So we did actually a survey within our company to understand curiosity as a fundamental trait. Only 1 out of 5 employees self-identified themselves as a curious individual.
Wow.
Right? 1 out of 5.
You were depressed after that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, honestly, I would think that
company-wide.
It's true probably not just at Merck. I don't know how it is in other companies.
Not true at MIT.
Not true at MIT.
Right.
MIT is 100%. Everybody's curious. But you have to think fundamentally. I think we all go through certain motions during the day. And I ask myself, how many times am I curious about things? I never thought about display technologies on my smartphone till I actually joined a company and found out that my company actually has 100% share on that display technology for all the smartphones, which is a fact that I did not know. And I started taking really a deep interest in LED and display technologies. Till that time, that curiosity button wasn't pressed. So I go through a lot of things during the day that I'm not, either I don't care about it, I don't have the time for it, or some other thing, but I don't think it's like a conspiracy where pharma has designed or done things that doctors have.
I don't believe it's a conspiracy at all. I think it's just the combination of, we've got all these great drugs, and here's the solution to all the problems that patients have, and we've lost some science. We've lost some amazing science because of new medications that have come out. In the UK, because of this, the universal way of doing healthcare, right? We've got, this is the path you have to be on. I follow all of these people on Twitter who have B12 problems. They go to their doctors, they are convinced that they have a problem that doesn't fit the standard of care, and so they get prescribed antidepressants instead of getting B12 shots that they know they need. And so in different countries, depending on who you talk to or depending on what the healthcare system is, they've lost the curiosity of the patient to come in and say, here's what I think's going on, doc, and then the doctor being able to have a conversation around that and matching on the curiosity side of, let's do some discovery here in this relationship that we have and then make a decision about what we do rather than just the knee-jerk, the pharma rep was in, they gave me the newest antidepressant, that's what we're going to prescribe, that's standard of care, I won't get sued or I won't lose being part of a system, and it does come back to conversations and where is the curiosity? It seems like it's gone.
Do you think that I mean, clearly there is an issue if your demarcation is pharmaceutical, right? So, if you're a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. That kind of, that kind of idea is true of pharma. That the answer has to be a new
drug.
molecule delivering something, and we pay lip service to beyond the pill and new business model innovations, and people talk about value-based pricing without really understanding what that might mean, because we don't necessarily understand value in a lot of the contexts. If we look beyond that, take it as, let's say, a Hollywood-based view about we're not just delivering a film to a distributor, but we're taking care of the whole chain, would we be seeing things differently? Would we be playing with the business model in ways that we're not currently?
But the objective of pharma companies is to sell drugs. There is no question about
Today.
that.
But
Yes,
Yeah.
and
So
how do we
let me speak
innovate
to
on the
that, if I
business
might.
model?
So
Yeah.
It really has to be about delivering value, right? Delivering something that
Yes.
people care about. And back to the curiosity piece. The things that I've come across as I've tried to understand more about curiosity myself. Actually, it's been something that I've been curious about. And what is it that drives it, right? And from what I've gathered, and this also maps back to design principles that I've seen others teach, not that I'm an expert in, that it's a reward-based reaction, right? You're curious when you find a way to feel as if you're making progress. That curiosity is driven by sort of the evidence of actually finding an answer to what it is, that you seek. And so, in the instance of presumably having the hammer or having the drug or having the thing, I would imagine that if the answer is so obvious and so available and so, you solve the question that you have, certainly I would imagine that it would dampen perhaps the willingness to further explore. But at the other end of that dynamic, there's a person who's walked into the office with a very strong need to feel as if something better is going to happen, right? So there's a relationship that, although it's not perhaps perfect, but it certainly is fulfilled by this person getting what they felt they wanted, which was maybe or maybe not necessarily the only thing that it could have been that would have been as potent or as otherwise. But it is not just about one side of that makes that what we wind up worrying about. And so the incentives part back to what is it that we will wind up valuing. Where do we find ways to prove that, in fact, that the outcome that we had hoped to get is the outcome that you wind up with, not just the moment of relief that now I've got a solution for my problem and I've got something in a jar and I'm home to take it, but that there's actually proof that, in fact, this works. We've entered into in the industries I'm sure are going to be entering into more and more of these things where you don't have a reward without value, right? If you haven't demonstrated some degree of efficacy, some degree of impact. That's not going to be rewarded. And the world is moving swiftly towards many of those things.
Yeah.
My hope is that will continue to drive the intent, which I hope will inspire the curiosity to explore how best to solve the problem other than the obvious easy one that happens to be the one that's sitting on the shelf. But it's complicated.
Yes.
But I think beyond curiosity, I think one of the things I could put on the table for consideration for our discussion is autonomy. Many of the things that you see, even in the physician world, now they're driven by guidelines.
Yes.
There's a
right.
lot of protocols that are in place. There's care teams and care pathways that are defined. In oncology, it's almost gone to the nth degree where you deviate from it, you're slapped.
Yes.
And I think autonomy in any culture, philosophically speaking, when I grew up, I was under my parents' tutelage. But the day I could be independent is when I really started becoming sort of innovative.
And curious, right?
Till then, all the rules of the game were established within the house. I had to follow those rules, and I didn't dare be an outlier, right?